Admiral Ginha stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Last Hope, and watched the stars blur past. Behind him stretched the largest fleet humanity had ever built. 900,000 warships moved through space like a river of metal and fire. Each ship carried the same thing, anger that burned like a star. 50 years had passed since Earth died. Jinha remembered that day. He had been a young officer on a patrol ship near Mars when the message came through. Earth's final transmission lasted only 30 seconds. Cities burning. Alien ships in the sky. People screaming. Then nothing but static. Remember us? Avenge us? Survive? Those were Earth's last words to her children scattered across the galaxy. The aliens called themselves the Valthyran Dominion. They came from nowhere, struck fast, and left nothing alive. 10 billion humans dead in a single day. The blue and green world that gave birth to humanity became a ball of ash and radiation. But the aliens made one mistake. They thought they had killed all humans. They were wrong. Ginha walked to the viewing window. The fleet stretched in all directions. Further than his eyes could see, battleships the size of cities, carriers packed with fighters, destroyers that moved like hunting wolves, supply ships carrying enough ammunition to burn worlds. "Sir," called Lieutenant Hareen from her station. She was young, maybe 25, born on a colony ship after Earth's death. She had never seen the blue skies or green grass of humanity's homeworld, but she hated the aliens just as much as Jinha did. "What is it, Hareen?" "Final count is complete. We have 900,000 ships ready for battle. Every human colony sent what they could." Jinha nodded. Every ship told a story of loss and rage. The mining colonies of the belt had turned their rock crushers into weapons. The research stations had built new kinds of bombs. Farming worlds had sent their cargo ships filled with soldiers instead of food. Commander Quan appeared beside Ginha. He was an old friend, someone who had fought beside Ginha for 30 years. Quan had lost his parents on Earth. His wife had been visiting the homeworld when the aliens attacked. "The men are asking when we reach the target," Quan said.
3
months, Jinha replied. 3 months until we reach their homeworld, Corvathis. That was what the aliens called their capital world. Intelligence reports said it was beautiful, crystal cities that reached into the clouds, floating gardens in the sky. A world that had never known war or suffering. Jinha planned to change. He turned from the window and walked to the center of the bridge. Around him, his crew worked at their stations. Most of them had been born after Earth's death. They knew their homeworld only from old videos and stories. But they carried the same fire that burned in Ginha's chest. "Open a channel to all ships," Ginha ordered. "Channel open, sir," Hareen said. Ginha looked into the camera. Across 900,000 ships, humans stopped their work to listen. "My fellow humans," he began. His voice was calm, but everyone could hear the steel beneath it. "Today, we begin the final journey. For 50 years we have built. We have planned. We have prepared. The aliens thought they ended us when they burned Earth. They were wrong." He paused, letting his words sink in. "We are not just survivors. We are the children of Earth, scattered across the stars, but united in purpose. Every ship in this fleet represents something the aliens cannot understand. Hope, determination, the refusal to give up." On the screen showing the fleet, Jinha could see lights flickering on ships. Humans pressing their hands to windows, saluting, showing they were ready. The Valthyran Dominion believes they are the masters of this galaxy. They have conquered hundreds of worlds. They have destroyed entire species. They think humans are just another victim to be forgotten. Jinha's voice grew harder. "But we remember Earth. We remember the blue oceans and white clouds. We remember the forests and mountains. We remember the people who died screaming for help that never came. And we remember our promise." He leaned forward. "We will avenge our world. We will make the aliens pay for every human life they took. And when we are done, the galaxy will know that humanity cannot be destroyed. We are the fire that burns in the darkness. We are the voice that speaks for the dead. We are vengeance itself. The channel closed. Across the fleet, humans cheered. Some cried. All of them felt the same burning need for justice. Quan moved closer to Jinha. Good speech. The crews needed to hear that. They needed to remember why we're here, Jinha said. 50 years is a long time. Some of the younger ones have never seen what aliens can do. Heron looked up from her station. Sir, I have the breakdown of fleet composition. Go ahead. 200,000 battleships armed with the new plasma cannons. 300,000 destroyers with improved shields. 100,000 carriers with fighter squadrons. The rest are support ships, supplies, medical engineering. Gin nodded. It was more firepower than any single species had ever assembled. But he wondered if it would be enough. The aliens had weapons that could crack planets. They had shields that could stop stars. They had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years, but they had never fought angry humans before. Harin, how long until we reach the edge of alien space? 2 weeks, sir. Good. Start preparing the reconnaissance drones. I want to know everything about their defenses before we arrive. Yes, sir. Ginha returned to the viewing window. Somewhere, ahead, in the darkness between stars, waited the alien homeworld. The place where his wife and children's killers lived in peace and comfort, not for much longer. He thought about Ert's final transmission. 3 simple words that had shaped 50 years of human history. Remember us, they had. Every human alive knew the story of Earth's last day. Avenge us. They would. 900,000 warships carried humanity's promise to the dead. Survive. They had done more than survive. They had grown stronger. The aliens had made humanity's greatest mistake. They had given humans a reason to unite. For Earth's death, human colonies fought each other over resources and territory. After Earth burned, every human shared the same goal: make the aliens pay. Jinha smiled, but it was not a kind smile. It was the smile of a predator who had finally found his prey. 3 months, he whispered to the stars. 3 months, and then you learn what it means to anger humanity. 900,000 ships flew toward destiny, carrying the fire of 10 billion. 2 months later, Admiral Jinha stood frozen on his bridge. The screen showed something impossible. The Valthyran home system was dead. Harin, run the scans again, Jinha ordered. His voice was steady, but inside, confusion grew like ice in his chest. I've run them 5 times, sir, Harin replied. Her face was pale. The readings are the same. No energy signatures. No communications. No life signs. Jinha stared at the main screen. Corvathis hung in space like a broken jewel, a crystal. Cities were dark. The floating gardens had crashed to the ground. The world that should have been blazing with alien civilization looked like a tomb. Where are they? Commander Quan asked. He moved to Jinha's side, studying the dead world with narrowed eyes. That's what we need to find out, Jinha said. Harin, what about the orbital stations? Dark, sir. Everything is dark. Jinha felt something cold crawl up his spine. The human fleet had prepared for a massive battle. They had expected to face the full might of an alien empire. Instead, they found empty space and silent worlds. Sir, called the communications officer. We're picking up debris fields throughout the system. Looks like shipwreckage. Alien ships? Yes, sir. Thousands of them. Jinha walked to the tactical display. Red dots marked the locations of destroyed vessels. There were so many dots, the screen looked like it had a disease. They fought someone, Quan said quietly, and they lost. But who could destroy the Valthyran Dominion? Harin asked. They were the strongest power in the galaxy. Jinha had the same question. The aliens had ruled space for thousands of years. They had weapons that could crack moons. They had fleets that numbered in the millions. What could have wiped them out so completely? Bring us closer to the planet, Ginha ordered, and prepare boarding teams. I want answers. The massive human fleet moved toward Corvathis like a pack of wolves approaching a fresh kill. But instead of finding enemies to fight, they found only mysteries. As they got closer, the true horror became clear. The alien ships weren't just destroyed, they were changed, twisted. The metal looked like it had been melted and reformed into impossible shapes. Some ships had grown new parts that made no sense. Others seemed to have been turned inside out. By all the stars, Quan whispered, staring. At the wreckage? What happened here? Horan picked the least damaged ship, Jinha said. We're going aboard. Sir, I don't think that's safe, Heron protested. We don't know what did this. Then we need to find out. Ginha's voice was firm. We came here for answers. We're not leaving without them. An hour later, Jinha led a boarding team through the airlock of a dead alien cruiser. The ship still had atmosphere, but it felt wrong. The air was too thick, too warm. It smelled like copper and fear. The corridors were dark, except for the lights from their helmets. Their footsteps echoed strangely, as if the sound was being twisted by the walls themselves. This way, Haren said, checking her scanner. The bridge should be ahead. They moved through the ship carefully. Everything looked normal at first glance. Then Jinha noticed the details. The walls had veins running through them. The floor felt soft under their boots. The ceiling seemed to pulse. Like a heartbeat, sir, one of the Marines called out. Shh, you need to see this. Ginha hurried to where the Marine stood. In front of them was what had once been the ship's crew. But the aliens weren't dead. They weren't alive either. They had become something else. The creatures that had been Valthyran soldiers were stuck to the walls like insects in amber. Their bodies had stretched and twisted. Extra arms grew from their backs. Their eyes had multiplied and moved to strange places. Their mouths hung open in silent screams. But the worst part was that they were still aware. Their eyes followed the humans as they passed. What could do this? Haren whispered. Jinha didn't answer. He couldn't. He had seen war, had seen death. But he had never seen anything that turned living beings into conscious nightmares. They found the bridge. The alien captain was still in his chair, but his body had grown roots that connected him to the ship's controls. His skin was transparent, showing veins filled with black liquid instead of blood. Can you access their computers? Jinha asked Haren. I think so. Haren connected her portable unit to the alien systems. The databanks are still active. Most of it is corrupted, but I might be able to recover something. Jinha waited while Haren worked. Around him, the transformed aliens watched with too many eyes. He could hear them trying to speak, but only wet clicking sounds came out. Got something, Haren said suddenly. It's a log entry from 3 months ago. The screen flickered to life. A normal Valthyran commander appeared, his blue skin and proud features unmarked by the horror that would come. Day 847 of the Earth campaign follow-up, the alien said. Our deep space sensors have detected something in the void between galaxies. Unknown ships approaching at impossible speeds. They don't match any known species. The image jumped and flickered. Day 850, first contact with the entities has been ... difficult. They call themselves devourers, claim to be gardeners of reality itself, they say. Our destruction of the human homeworld was ... expected, part of some larger pattern. Ginha felt his blood turn cold. Day 851, the devourers have made their purpose clear. They consume civilizations that have reached evolutionary dead ends. They say every species follows the same path. Expansion, stagnation, consumption. They have been waiting for us to reveal ourselves. The alien commander's face showed growing fear. Day 852. We understand now the humans were bait. The devourers needed to draw out every advanced species in the galaxy. Earth's destruction was designed to make civilizations reveal their locations, their capabilities, their numbers. The screen went static for a moment. Day 853. They're here, in our system. Our weapons do nothing. Our shields are useless. They don't destroy us. They change us. They remake us into something that serves their purpose. I can feel it starting. My thoughts are becoming ... different. If anyone receives this message, run hide. The devourers consume everything, but they digest slowly. We are becoming part of something vast and hungry, and the transmission ended. Jinha stood in silence, processing what he had heard. The aliens hadn't been conquerors. They had been victims, just like Earth. Sir, Heron said quietly, there's more data here. Records of other species, hundreds of them, all consumed by these devourers over millions of years. Show me. Hodden brought up the files. Species after species, galaxy after galaxy. All following the same pattern. Growth, expansion, then sudden consumption by entities from the void. But Sir Heron continued, there's something else. According to this data, one species fought back. They actually wounded the devourers badly enough to make them retreat for thousands of years. Which species? Heron looked up at Jinha with wide eyes. They don't name them directly, but the Volthyran records call them the fire that burns. Brighter when darkness falls. The ones who grow stronger under pressure. Jinha felt understanding hit him like a physical blow. They were talking about humans, he whispered. Around them, the transformed aliens clicked and moaned, trying to warn them of the horror that waited in the void. The devourers were coming, and humanity was. Admiral Jinha sat in his command room, staring at reports that made no sense. Around the table sat his senior officers. The room was quiet, except for the hum of the ship's engines. Everyone was thinking the same thing. They had come to fight aliens. Instead, they found something much worse. Show them the data, Haran, Ginha said. Haran activated the holographic display. Images of consumed worlds appeared in the air. Species after species, all changed into twisted forms by the devourers. The pattern is always the same, Haran explained. A civilization grows strong. They expand across many worlds, and they stop growing. They become comfortable. That's when the devourers come. Commander Quan leaned forward. His face was grim. How many civilizations? Thousands, Haran replied. The Valthyran records go back millions of years. Every advanced species in this galaxy has been consumed. We're looking at the remains of an entire galactic community. Captain Menesio, commander of the 3rd Battle Group, spoke up. What about the species that fought back, the ones the aliens mentioned? Haran switched the display. New images appeared. Ancient records, partially corrupted. The Valthrines called them humanitas, Haran said. It's an old word that means the fire that grows stronger when pressed. According to these files, they were the only species that ever wounded the devourers. Where are they now? Asked Captain Duhayan from the carrier fleet. Gone, Haran said quietly, but not consumed. The records suggest they evolved, became something beyond what the devourers could touch. Jinha stood up, walked to the window and looked out at his massive fleet. 900,000 ships, humanity's children, spread across the stars, all ready to die for their dead world. We have 3 choices, Jinha said, turning back to face his officers. First choice, we run. We go back to human space. We warn our colonies. We prepare defenses, and hope the devourers take a long time to find us. The room was silent. Everyone knew what that choice meant. Hiding, waiting, living in fear until the monsters came. Second choice, we stay and fight. We attack the devourers with everything we have, make them pay for what they did to Earth, even if it kills us all. Captain? Menesio nodded. That's what we came here to do. But we came here to fight the aliens who burned Earth, Commander Quan said. Those aliens are already dead. Worse than dead. Jinha continued. Third choice, we investigate. We find these devourers. We learn what they are and how they can be. Stopped. We try to understand what happened to the species that fought them before. That's suicide, Captain Duhayan said. If the devourers consumed the entire Volthyran Dominion in a few days, what chance do we have? Haran cleared her throat. Sir, there's something else. Something I found in the deepest data files. Jinha nodded for her to continue. Valthrines didn't just study the species that fought the devourers. They studied us. Humans. They have files on human behavior going back centuries. She activated new displays. Images of human wars, human struggles, human victories against impossible odds. They were fascinated by us, Haren continued. Every other species they studied followed predictable patterns, but humans, we don't. We grow stronger when things get worse. We find ways to win when we should lose. We adapt faster than any other known species. What's your point? Quan asked. The point is that the Valthrines thought we were the same species, the ones who fought the Devourers before. They thought humans were the descendants of Humanitas. The room erupted in voices. Officers talking over each other, asking questions, making arguments. Ginha let them talk for a minute, then raised his hand for silence. Even if that's true, Ginha said, it doesn't change our situation. We still have to choose what to do next. Captain Menesio. Stood up, Admiral. We have 900,000 ships and 40 million crew members. That's 40 million humans who left their families to avenge Earth. They didn't come here to run away, but they also didn't come here to die pointlessly, Quan argued. If we attack the Devourers and lose, humanity dies with us. Every colony, every human child, every hope for the future. What if we don't attack? Captain Duhayan asked. What if we try to negotiate? Maybe these Devourers can be reasoned with. Haren shook her head. I've read their communication logs with the Valthrines. The Devourers don't negotiate. They don't hate. They don't feel anything. They just consume. It's what they are. Jinha sat back down. The weight of command felt heavier than ever. Every choice could doom humanity. Every decision could be their last. Sir Haren said softly, There's one more thing. In the deepest files, I found coordinates. The Valthrines tracked the Devourers when they left this system. They went into the void between galaxies. How far? Jinha asked. 6 months' travel? Maybe more. It's beyond any mapped space. The room fell silent again. The void between galaxies was empty darkness. No stars, no worlds. No hope of rescue if something went wrong. If we go there, Quan said slowly, we might never come back. But if we don't... Go, Jinha replied. The Devourers will eventually come to us. And when they do, we'll be fighting in human space, around human worlds, with human civilians in the crossfire. Captain Menesio looked at Jinha. What does your gut tell you, Admiral? Jinha was quiet for a long moment. He thought about Earth, about his wife and children burned to ash 50 years ago, about the billions of humans living on colony worlds, unaware that cosmic predators were hunting them. My gut tells me that running away won't save us, Jinha said. These Devourers have consumed entire galaxies. They won't stop because we hide. They won't leave us alone because we ask nicely. He stood up again, his decision made. But my gut also tells me that humans are different. We've survived ice ages and plagues and wars. We've turned deserts into gardens and reached for the stars when we could barely walk upright. Every time something tries to destroy us, we come back stronger. Ginha looked at each of his officers. I'm not ordering anyone to follow me. Is beyond duty, beyond orders. This is about what it means to be human. He activated the fleet communication system. This is Admiral Ginha to all ships. I'm about to ask something that has never been asked before, not of any species anywhere. Ever. Across 900,000 ships, humans stopped what they were doing to listen. We came here to avenge Earth, but Earth's killers are already dead. What killed them is still alive, still hunting, still consuming entire civilizations. Jinha paused, choosing his words carefully. I'm asking for volunteers. Volunteers to follow me into the void between galaxies, to hunt the hunters, to face creatures that have devoured thousands of species over millions of years. He took a deep breath. I'm asking you to risk everything on the chance that humans can do what no other species has ever done. Not just survive the impossible, but defeat it. The response came immediately. Ship after ship, captain after captain, crew after crew. Volunteer? Count us in. Where humanity goes, we follow. Within an hour, every single ship had volunteered.
All 900,000
vessels.
40 million humans.
Jinha smiled for the first time since finding the dead alien world. Then we go into the dark, he said, and we show these devourers what it means. To threaten humanity, the fleet turned toward the void, carrying humanity's fire into 3 months into the void, Admiral Jinha realized his fleet was changing. It started small. Engineer crews reporting that their tools worked better than they should. Pilots finding they could fly ships faster than the computers said was possible. Soldiers discovering they could see in the dark without night vision. At first, Ginha thought it was just good training. Then, the changes became impossible to ignore. "Sir, you need to see this," Haran called from her station. Her voice was different. Now, stronger, more confident than before. Jinha walked over to her console. Around him, the bridge crew worked with movements that seemed too quick, too precise. They were still human, but something more than human too. "What is it, Haran?" "It's the quantum readings from our hull sensors," she said. "The void isn't empty. It's full of something that shouldn't exist." Jinha looked at the display. Waves of energy moved through space around them. But according to physics, there should be nothing here. The void between galaxies was supposed to be empty darkness. "What kind of energy?" Jinha asked. "I don't know, sir, but it's changing us. All of us." Haran turned to face him. Her eyes were brighter than they used to be. "I can feel it happening. My mind is working faster. I can see patterns in the data that I never noticed before." Commander Quan appeared beside them. He moved with the silent grace of a hunter now. His reflexes had become incredibly fast. "It's not just the science teams," Quan said. "The Marines are reporting increased strength. The pilots say they can feel their ships like extensions of their own bodies. Even the cooks say they understand food in ways they never did before." Ginha nodded. He felt it too. The void was doing something to them. But instead of the twisted horror that had consumed the aliens, humans were becoming more themselves. Sir Haran said, studying her readings. "I think I understand what's happening." "Explain." "The void isn't empty. It's full of possibility. Raw potential that can become anything." Harin's fingers moved over her controls faster than Jinha could follow. Most species that enter the void get overwhelmed. They can't handle unlimited possibility, so they break down. "But we're not breaking down," Jinha observed. "No, sir. We're adapting. We're taking the possibility and making it into what we need it to be." Haran smiled. "We're doing what humans always do. We're making the impossible work for us." Suddenly, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. "Contact!" called the sensor officer. "It's multiple contacts ahead." "There. They're huge, sir." Ginha moved to the main display. What he saw made his blood freeze. Ships, but not ships like anything he had ever seen. They were made of darkness itself, flowing and changing shape as they moved. Some were the size of cities. Others stretched for hundreds of kilometers, and they were heading straight for the human fleet. "Red alert," Jinha ordered. "All ships, battle stations." But as the alien vessels approached, Jinha realized something strange. His fleet wasn't afraid. The fear that should have paralyzed 40 million humans was nowhere to be found. Instead, he felt something else. "Haran, what are those ships made of?" Ginha asked. "They're not made of matter, sir. They're made of the same energy that fills the void, but shaped, controlled." Haran's eyes widened. "Sir, I don't think they're ships at all. I think they're the devourers themselves." The dark shapes surrounded the human fleet. Up close, Jinha could see they weren't solid. They moved like liquid shadow, constantly shifting and flowing. Then they began to speak. The voice came from everywhere. At once, it spoke inside Jinha's head, inside everyone's head at the same time. "You are far from your galaxy, small creatures." Jinha stepped forward. "I am Admiral Jinha of the human fleet. You destroyed our world. You killed our people. Consumed the failed experiment called Earth, as we consume all experiments that reach their end." "Earth wasn't an experiment," Jinha said, anger burning in his chest. "It was our home. All worlds are experiments. All species are experiments. When they stop growing, stop changing, stop becoming more than they were, we end the experiment and begin new ones." Around Jinha, his crew stood ready. But they weren't trembling with fear. They stood like warriors who had found their true enemy. But you, the voice continued, you are not like the others. You came seeking revenge and found evolution instead. What do you mean? Jinha demanded. Your species does not fear the void as others do. You embrace it. You take the raw possibility and forge it into strength. You are becoming what you were, always meant to be. Haren stepped forward. You mean we're like the species that fought you before? The ones you called Humanatus? You are not like them, the voice said. You are them. Turned. Changed, but still carrying the fire that burns brighter in darkness. Jinha felt understanding hit him like lightning. You've been waiting for us. We've been waiting for you to remember what you are. The gardeners who came before us. The shapers of reality who grew tired and chose to sleep. We're not gardeners. Quan said, we're humans. We're survivors. You are both. You're the fire that refuses to die. The will that shapes possibility itself. You are what we were made to serve. The dark shapes began to change. They flowed together, forming something new. Something that looked almost like a bridge between the human fleet and the endless void. We offer you choice, the voice said. Turn to your galaxy and grow as you will. We will not disturb your experiments again. Or what? Jinha asked. Or take your place as gardeners of reality, shape the void, create new possibilities. Guide the growth of consciousness across all galaxies. Jinha looked at his crew. Horan, whose mind now worked faster than any computer. Quan, whose body had become a perfect weapon. At all the humans who had been changed by their journey into impossible places. And if we refuse both choices, Jinha asked, then you choose a third path. You forge your own way, as humans always do. But know that the void will always be part of you now. You cannot go back to what you were. Jinha smiled. It was the smile of a man who had finally understood his place in the universe. We didn't come here to go back, he said. We came here to go forward. He turned to his fleet. All ships. This is the Admiral. We have a choice to make. Not as soldiers, but as humans. Not for revenge, but for the future. He paused, thinking of Earth, of the billions who had died, of the children yet to be born. The Devourers offer us the power to shape reality itself, to become gardeners of possibility, to guide the growth of life across all existence. Jinha looked at the bridge of dark energy that stretched into infinity. But I say we choose the third path. We take the power, but we remain human. We shape reality, but we do it our way. We become gardeners, but we plant seeds of hope, not control. Across the fleet, 40 million voices answered as one. We choose the human way. The void itself seemed to smile as humanity stepped forward into its Admiral Jinha stepped onto the bridge of dark energy. His feet found solid ground where there should have been nothing. Behind him, Harin and Quan followed. Around them, the void itself seemed to watch and wait. The Devourers flowed together into a single massive form. It looked like a storm made of liquid night, with eyes like dying stars scattered throughout its body. You choose the difficult path, the entity said. Its voice came from everywhere and nowhere. To take power, but remain unchanged at your core. This has never been attempted. Humans are good at attempting impossible things, Jinha replied. He felt the void energy flowing through him, changing him, but he held tight to what made him human. The memory of Earth, the love for his lost family, the anger that had brought him here. Show us, Harin said, stepping forward. Her voice was steady, but Jinha could see the wonder in her eyes. Show us what we really are. The Devourer raised what might have been an arm. Reality around them shifted like water. Suddenly, they were not in space anymore. They stood in a place that existed before galaxies were born. Images flowed around them, history of the universe itself. In the beginning, the Devourer said, consciousness was wild, uncontrolled. Species grew too fast, burned too bright, died too quickly. The universe was chaos. Jinha watched civilizations rise and fall in moments. Stars born and destroyed. Worlds that existed for heartbeats before being consumed by their own power. Then came the first gardeners. They called themselves by many names, but the oldest was humanetis, the fire that shapes itself. New images appeared, beings that looked almost human, but brighter somehow. They moved between stars like stepping stones. They shaped worlds with their thoughts. They guided young species toward wisdom. They were perfect gardeners, the devourer. Continued. For millions of years, they brought order to chaos. They helped consciousness grow strong but stable. The universe flourished under their care. What happened to them? Quan asked. They grew tired. After countless eons of shaping reality, they chose to sleep. They scattered themselves across a single small world and let themselves forget what they were. They became ... limited. Mortal. Human. Shinha felt his heart stop. Earth. Earth, the devourer agreed. The gardener's final garden, where they planted themselves, and chose to grow small instead of infinite. But why? Harin asked. Why give up such power? Because even infinite beings can grow weary of infinity. They wanted to experience limitation, to feel loss, to know what it meant to struggle and fail and try again. Images changed again. Now, Jinha saw Earth's history. Humans learning to make fire, building cities, reaching for the stars. All the time carrying within them the sleeping memory of what they had once been. We were made to serve the gardeners, the devourer said. When they slept, we took their role. But we are not gardeners. We are pruners. We can only cut away what is finished growing. We cannot plant new seeds. That's why you consumed civilizations, Jinha realized. You were trying to do their job, but you could only destroy. Yes. For millions of years, we have cut away the dead growth, hoping that gardeners would wake and plant anew. But they slept too deeply. The void around them began to change again. Ginha could feel something vast awakening, not just in him, but in every human in his fleet. 40 million people remembering what they had forgotten for eons. Until now. Harin whispered. She raised her hand and stars appeared in her palm. Real stars, burning with real fire. We're remembering, Jinha shook his head, and we're not going back to what we were. We're becoming something new. He stepped toward the devourer. You want us to replace you as gardeners? To tend reality like a farm? But that's not what humans do. Then what do you do? The entity asked. Jinha smiled. Around him he could feel his fleet awakening to their true power. But they weren't becoming the ancient gardeners. They were becoming something the universe had never seen before. We grow, Jinha said simply. We don't just tend gardens. We plant ourselves in impossible places and bloom anyway. We don't just shape reality. We make reality bigger. He gestured to his crew. Harin was creating new forms of matter that shouldn't exist. Quan was bending space and time like clay. All around them, humans were discovering powers beyond imagination. Look at us, Jinha continued. 3 months ago, we were just angry people with ships and guns. Now we're reshaping the fundamental forces of existence, and we're still human, still angry, still determined to make things better. The devourer watched in what might have been amazement. You take infinite power and remain finite beings. We take infinite power and use it for finite purposes, Ginha corrected. We don't want to rule reality. We want to improve it, one world at a time, one species at a time, an impossible problem at a time. Harin stepped beside Jinha. We'll be gardeners, but not the kind you expect. We'll plant seeds of hope in dark places. We'll help species grow beyond their limits. We'll make the universe bigger and brighter and more alive. Quan joined them, and when we get tired, we won't go to sleep. We'll train others to carry on. We'll make sure the fire never dies. The devourer was quiet for a long moment. Then it began to change. Dark storm shape flowed and shifted, becoming something lighter. Still vast, still powerful, but no longer hungry. Then we will learn to be gardeners too, it said. Instead of pruning the dead, we will help tend the living. Ginha nodded. Partners, not servants. Equals, not masters. Agreed. Reality shifted around them again. They were back in space, surrounded by the human fleet. But everything was different now. The ships glowed with inner light. The crews moved with newfound purpose. The void itself seemed warmer, more alive. What now? Harin asked. Jinha looked toward the distant galaxy they had left. Somewhere in that direction were human colonies, still waiting for word from their revenge fleet. Still mourning Earth, still living in fear of cosmic threats. Now we go home, Jinha said. But not as the same people who left. We go home as gardeners of hope, as shapers of possibility, as humans who learned that the best revenge against darkness is to make more light. He opened a channel to the entire fleet. This is Admiral Jinha, to all ships. Our mission is complete, but our work is just beginning. Came to avenge Earth. Instead, we learned to honor it. Came seeking to destroy our enemies. Instead, we learned to transform them into allies. He paused, looking at the stars that seemed brighter now, more full of promise. Earth gave birth to humanity. But today, humanity gives birth to something new. We are the gardeners of tomorrow, the shapers of dreams. The fire that burns eternal, across 900,000 ships. 40 million humans felt the truth of his words in their transformed hearts. Set course for home, Jinha ordered. We have a galaxy to replant. The fleet turned toward distant stars, carrying within them the seeds of a new age. Behind them, the Devourers followed not as conquerors, but as students learning to create instead of consume. And in the darkness between galaxies, new lights began to shine. Small at first, but growing brighter with each passing moment. The fire of humanity had learned to kindle itself in others. The universe would